Hey guys, my name is Vishal and I welcome you all to this session by Edureka. Today we are going to discuss Azure chatbots. I believe you are good to go guys, so let's continue with this session and take a look at the agenda for today's session. Well, as far as this session goes, following are the offerings, we would start by understanding what are chatbots. Next, we would understand what is Azure Bot Service and how can you use it to create a chatbot. There's a lot more to offer. As we move further, everything would unfold. So let's jump into the first topic of discussion then. First, we need to understand how communication has evolved with time. Now, if you talk about times when I was little, I remember my father writing letters to his relatives or my grandparents rather. So in order to send these mails or letters, we had to attach those postcards, go to the post office, put the letters there, and then that postman would take that letter to the respective party and that party would reply in the same manner. So this process would take days, isn't it? It had its own fun, but if you talk about current times, the technology has evolved a lot, and with that, the way we communicate with people has changed too. Nowadays, we have something called as mobile phones, right? Where if we do have to go ahead and communicate something to people, all we do is we just go ahead and type in a particular message and it gets delivered to that person within seconds. That is how communication has evolved. And what has this part done? Well, what it has done is it has made communication, one, easy, and two, more human-like. What do I mean by more human-like? Now, I've been in the age of chatting as well, and I know that how do we chat? It's very simple. Whatever we have to say, we just type it, right? Unlike the formalities that we do in other ways of communication. Say, for example, suppose if I have to apply for a leave, what would I do? I would go ahead and type an email, right? In that case, I would be putting in the details as in who it is to be sent to, what is the subject. Then I would put in the details. Then I would ask for a leave and all those things. I mean, this also is pretty much organized, but then it is too complex, isn't it? If you talk about chatting, it's very simple. I'm not well, I won't be coming today. As simple as that. Imagine if we could just go ahead and do this in every aspect of our life. Wouldn't that be easy? Can that be done? Definitely it can be done. Nowadays, what people are doing is they are trying to attach communication or implement communication everywhere in such a manner that you can easily communicate with people or with different resources and get the desired result out of it. One of the ways to do it is chatbots. Let's try to understand what chatbots are and how do they contribute to this concept. Well, if I were to define chatbot, it is nothing but a software that lets me communicate with a human. Now, suppose I am an individual and I have certain requirements. Suppose I visit a website. What happens there? A pop-up comes in, right? Saying that, how can we help you? What is the possibility that it is not a bot? In 90% of the cases, it is. So that is what a chatbot is. In more formal ways, it is nothing but a bot or a software that can have a conversation with a human being. Now, there are types of this chatbot. You have the standard chatbots and the self-learning chatbots as well. Now, if you talk about a standard chatbot, think of it as a device or a software that that takes in the data that is given to it. And if a query is thrown at this bot, the machine or the software would reply to that individual. It does not go ahead and make any modification on its own. This is where the second option comes into picture. You have something called as self-learning chatbots. Now, these are the bots that actually take in the data, understand the data, and then adapt to that data. In my previous session, I talked about recommender systems, right? For people who are completely new to the system, let me tell you what it is. Now, basically, recommender systems are nothing but those are devices or softwares rather that give you suggestions. Now, these suggestions are given based on the inputs that you provide. Think of it as your YouTube channel, right? I mean, where you put in a particular song and you play that song. When you do play that song, if you take a look at the suggestions list, you'd be having a song that either relates to the song that you played or the song that you might have played previously. So what has happened here is your so-called recommender system or the software, it has learned from the preferences that you have given or the browsing history that you have. It also takes into consideration the preferences of other people who chose similar data, and based on that it gives you an input, right, saying that okay, these are the songs that you might like as well. Similar is the case with a self-learning chatbot. What it does is, given the data you provide to it, it learns, and it makes the discussion more interactive. To give you another example, suppose you are a policy holder, and let's assume that there is a criteria that unless you are 18 years of age, you cannot buy a policy at that particular place. Now also imagine that you have this imaginary child or a kid who has turned 18 this year. Now if your data is with this chatbot or with this organization, your chatbot would understand what your data is, and next time if you try to converse with it, it might give you a suggestion saying that, okay, your son recently turned 18, would you like to buy a policy for him as well? So that is what a self-learning chatbot does. It basically goes ahead, it understands the data, and it adapts to the data, and based on this adaptation, it rather gives you a suggestion saying that, okay, this is what would you like to do this as well. The aim here is to go ahead and make the interaction little more interactive than what it is already. That is why the reason why this is happening is because as an individual, we like to have discussion with people. That is how we human beings are. We like to communicate. And the aim of chatbots or these softwares is to make the conversation as interactive as possible. Plus, the fact that we have chatbots everywhere, what companies are trying to do these days is they're trying to make their working a lot more easier. Instead of just giving you information, they're trying to understand your requirements and accordingly give you solutions. So you do not have to go through the documentation and all those processes. So this is what chatbots are basically. Those are nothing but softwares that try to understand the data that is given to them. And based on that, they would either give you an answer or a solution to the problem that you have. Let's try to understand chatbots and the concepts that surround it a little more. So what is the need of chatbots? Now, I've already discussed quite a few reasons as in why do you need chatbots, but there are some other reasons as well. Most important reason is when you compare it with a human being, a chatbot performs better. How is that? Now there's no competition to human brain, right? I mean, we all know that it's a great thing, and it is the thing that actually created your chatbot. But if you talk about precision and performance, if you have a software that has been trained, that could actually give you better replication and better throughput. How is that? Let me give you one more scenario. The next point. That is easy to replicate. What do I mean by this? Now suppose I have a human being who is sitting and answering certain queries. No matter how great or how brilliant that individual is, if I throw like 20 queries parallelly to him, he probably would be able to answer 4 to 5 queries, right? So this is where a chatbot is different. I mean, I can create one chatbot, I can program it in one way, and then I can train it for 20 different services. So when 20 different queries come in, I have 20 chatbots that can actually do the job that is needed. So when you talk about parallelization, this is where chatbots come into picture. So these are some of the needs. Apart from that, the major need is to make interactions a lot more interactive than what they are. So yeah, this is what chatbots are, and we are going to go ahead and implement chatbots by using Microsoft Azure, and in that we would be using a service called as Azure Bot Service. So let's try to understand what Microsoft Azure is, and then we can move into the demo part where I would be talking about the bot service and how to build a chatbot. So what is Azure? Well, Azure is nothing but a cloud service provider. Now, if you compare it with Amazon Web Services, it again is a great cloud service provider, just like Amazon Web Services, and it has a plethora of services to offer to you. Whether you talk about your storage services, compute services, security services, whatever service it is, everything is taken care by Microsoft Azure. And what it does is it lets you create applications, deploy them, maintain them, monitor them, and also keep them secure. The best thing about Microsoft Azure is it is a Microsoft product. Now, when you talk about Microsoft, we all know that the plethora of applications or the Microsoft stack of products that is there, we all know that it is huge. And what that means is there might be some software in your life which you're using, and that has something to do with Microsoft Azure. So if you're moving to cloud, you'd want to use or have the ability to move your so-called application or have the freedom to implement your applications that are there in Microsoft onto your cloud platform, isn't it? So if you are using Microsoft Azure, it becomes easier to migrate all these applications or integrate these applications to Microsoft Azure. So it actually gives you a freedom of using your favorite tool or your frameworks on Microsoft Azure. So yeah, that is what Microsoft Azure is, and as I've already mentioned, it is a very popular cloud service provider. In this case, we would be using Microsoft Azure bot service in particular, and using that, we are going to go ahead and create a chatbot. So that is what we have for the demo part. Let's just switch into the console of Microsoft Azure and let's take the discussion forward there. So yeah guys, let me first give you a scenario as in what are we going to do now. Now when I talk about creating a chatbot, what is going to happen here is first I need to create a chatbot, and in order for that chatbot to work, what I'll have to do is I'll have to go ahead and create some source or some data source from which my chatbot would learn, isn't it? I mean, it needs some data, right? So for that, we need to create something called as knowledge base. Now, your knowledge base is nothing but basically a set of information. It can be achieved from anywhere, maybe a URL that has pages or two where the information is given, or it is a document that you own. So we would be using that document or that URL, and using that URL, we would take in the data and we would create a knowledge base. Once the knowledge base is ready, we would go ahead and switch into Microsoft Azure portal, and there we would be creating a chatbot. Now what we would be doing is we would be giving that chatbot that information, and then we would test our chatbot as in whether it works perfectly or not. Once we are done with this, I'm going to take it a step further where I would be going ahead and integrating my chatbot with my Facebook Messenger app. So stay tuned and let's implement all these things one by one. First and foremost, let's start by creating our knowledge base. For that, we have to go to this URL, that is Q&A Maker. Bear with me guys, if my internet is a little slow, it might take a little longer than normal. So this is what we have here, that is www.qa-maker.ai. Now if you come here, you can create your knowledge base. If you click on this icon, it would say create a knowledge base. Okay, I have to sign in every now and then, that can be irritating. So I say sign in. No, I don't keep it signed in, that is why it asks me every now and then, but that way I feel it's safer. There you go. Might take a minute or two, probably lesser than that. First, it would check whether I have any knowledge bases that are there with me already. If not, it would ask me to create a newer one. So that is how it works. Guys, Microsoft Azure at times takes a little longer time to load. That depends on various sources. I won't get into the details of that. So if that happens, don't worry, I would be keeping you engaged and we'll be discussing something meanwhile. So there you go. We have this thing here. I say create a knowledge base. Okay, so guys, we are creating a knowledge base, right? So since we would be putting it on Microsoft Azure, we would be needing a service that is there on the platform that can attain to this knowledge base, right? So for that, we have to create a Q&A service as well. So let's go ahead and create that service here. If I click on this icon, it navigates me to Microsoft Azure account. Now I've already signed in, so it would directly take me to the portal, and it would open that tab where we can just go ahead and create this so-called Q&A Maker. If you want to visit the website first or the portal first and then open this thing, you can type your Q&A Maker and it would take you to this page where you can click on create, and then this would appear. So this is the Microsoft Azure dashboard. We will be talking about it, do not worry. So we are going to go ahead and create this Q&A Maker service. Let's call it, say, demo 1234511. Subscription, it's Azure 533 standard. What is the payment tier I want? Keep it standard again, and location is West US. Let me prefer that. Now your chatbot service is not available everywhere, so you would be wanting to be careful while you select the regions. Okay guys. Resource group, now it by default takes the name of my Q&A Maker name and it replicates the name. You can actually go ahead and use an existing resource group if you have one. If not, let it create one. So what is a resource group? Basically, it is nothing but, think of it as a container where certain resources are put in by Microsoft Azure. So when you do create a service, along with it, it has to have a resource group attached to it. So each time you have a service, either create a new resource group or use the one that you already have and that suits your needs. In this case, we would be creating one. Once you do that, come here and select this thing. Demo 12345, everything is okay. West US is the region, West US is the region again. So guys, everything is pretty much in line. There's nothing that we need to discuss here. Let me just go ahead and say create. Yeah, so it would just go ahead and create this thing. Once this thing is created, we can actually go back and then select this. Okay, it's deploying now. These are some of the applications that I created in the past. I do not need them right now, so I'm just gonna go ahead and remove these. Meanwhile, my application gets created here, service rather. Okay, it's deploying. So guys, as I've already mentioned, at times it takes a longer while. So yep, this is what might happen here. Might take a minute or two, or half a minute if we are lucky enough. So once we do that, we are going to come back here, select all the resources, and then we are going to create a knowledge base. Now what happens here? When you do create that knowledge base, basically what your Microsoft Azure does is, or your Q&A maker does is, it fetches the data from the source that we are generating or the source that we are giving. Now, as I've already mentioned, you can either go ahead and probably give in a document, or you can select certain URL. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and select a URL. So what kind of data would we like? If we have some FAQs, that would be better, right? So let's go ahead and select some FAQs. Let me just go ahead and search for Azure FAQs, and we'll select the first one that is there. Now this is an ad. Let's not select this. Let's select this thing. So guys, this probably has some Azure support FAQs. So some questions asked and some data given. So this would be one of the best data sets to use here. So let's copy this link. And as you can see that our service is created. Let me just pin it to the dashboard so it becomes easier to use. It has been pinned. Now I go back to Q&A maker and I refresh it. Guys, you need to refresh it once, because else your so-called service won't be displayed here. Okay, loading your Q&A services. Please do that for me. Okay, so it has been refreshed. Now let me select the by default account that I have, my subscription name, and the service which I just created. URL, I paste it here, and then I say create. Knowledge base name cannot be empty. Okay, I forgot to enter in the name. Let it be the same as we've already entered. It has nothing but, what was the name? Okay, let's call it, say, let's come here first. It's demo 1234511, right? So let me just give in that name. I like to have it ambiguous, guys. At times it's simpler to remember same names or use one name throughout the application. So ambiguity is good at times. So there you go. Let's hope it gets created this time around. Okay, so might take half a minute here, and once it's done, it would fetch in all the data and it would create a knowledge base which we can use. Now guys, once the knowledge base is created, it would be created based on the data that we've entered. But that is not how I would start the communication, right? Instead, what I would do is I would start by saying maybe hello or how are you or something like that. So when I say hello, I need an appropriate reply from the chatbot, right? So we would go ahead and use this knowledge base, but we would also go ahead and add a couple of comments or a couple of starters or endpoints for this discussion. So there you go, the knowledge base has been created. I would like to train it a little more by adding a Q&A pair or two. So in case if I just go ahead and say, hi, I want my chatbot to reply something like this. Hello. How may we help you? There you go. So, and let me add one more Q&A pair. This time what I'm going to do is I'm going to, what just happened? Okay, there you go. Let me just say thank you, and on this let it say glad we could help you, hope to see you soon. There you go. Somehow I'm not sure whether I added that hi thing. So if that is not added here, probably we'll just use this thing to test, as in if we say thank you, this is the output that we need, right? Or if we type some of these keywords, this is the data that should be displayed. So let's just say save and train. One pair cannot be empty. So which pair is empty right now? Okay. Is there something that is empty here? I cannot see anything that is empty. Okay, what just happened? The problem is we added hi and hello, right? I just cannot see where did it go, or could not see where it go. Okay, it's saying that some key pair is empty. There is thank you here, and there is a plus here, so this is fine. This is what we have. Do we have anything else that we need to focus on? Okay, this is the part. Let me just refresh it, guys. That way probably we would be able to edit it better. Again, the waiting time, that is something that I hate a lot when you work with these things. Add a Q&A pair. Let's say hi, and let's just say hello. How can we help? Question mark, and let's see whether we can save it now. Okay, now there shouldn't be any problem here. So hi and hello has been added. So I believe we can test our so-called knowledge base based on the data that we've entered here, right? Yep, it has been added successfully. So let's test it, guys. I say hi and I hit the enter button. There you go. We have the reply. Hello, how can we help? You can ask other questions as well, like do you provide support? So if it can actually go ahead and parse this data, or rather segregate this data, it would give you an answer. There you go. It has the answer. It has used the database that is there, and it has given in the answer that suits in best for this keyword. So guys, test is complete. Now let's just go back and publish this knowledge base. For that, I would need to refresh it once, and once it gets refreshed, I can just go ahead and publish it. So guys, once we are done publishing this thing, okay, we have this option here, publish. Okay, so it might take half a minute. So once it gets published, now we are going to go ahead and create a chatbot, and we are going to integrate, or we are going to give this knowledge base to a chatbot. So if we again test it and put in certain queries, it would give us the reply for the questions that we've asked. So there you go. Now this is something that we would be needing. It is nothing but sample HTTP request. That means once I try to connect with my chatbot, there are certain credentials that I might be required to enter, like the host ID or the authorization endpoint and all those things. So let this thing be open, and let's just switch to the dashboard part. Now here I can create my chatbot. For that, I need to click on create a resource. There you go. I say AI plus machine learning, and I get this option where I say web app bot. There you go. So let's create something called as demo 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 1. Again, subscription is Azure 533. It has created a resource group, central. No, I want West US. I scroll down. What is the bot template? Well, it is built in basic C#. I would click on this thing and select Q&A, that is question and answer form. And I say select. There you go. I scroll down. East US again. I want West US, maybe West US 2. And I say create. So guys, this thing takes a while. It takes a minute for my chatbot to get created. Now, once the chatbot gets created, Next job is to take this chatbot and connect it to the knowledge base and move the whole thing to my Facebook Messenger. Now, this is where I would be asking the questions. That is, I would be creating an application on my Facebook Messenger, and on that, I would be putting in this chatbot. So if I do throw in these queries, my Facebook Messenger would reply. That means the chatbot would reply using my Facebook Messenger. For that, we need to integrate our chatbot with the Facebook Messenger. So how do we do that? For that, we need a Facebook account. While this thing works out, let's do that. Now this is a sample account that I've created. This is an anime which I used to watch once. So I've taken this template. This basically deals with different benders who can bend different elements. Now you don't need to get into the details of what those elements are. I've just used this theme, and based on that I would be creating a page to which I want my chatbot to react to. And I would also be going ahead and creating an application as well. Why are we creating all these things? Once the bot is ready, you would understand all the stuff, as in why we are here and what are we doing here. Meanwhile, just create a page first. Let's say create, and let's call it, say, okay, let it be business brand. Call it, say, metal bending. Don't get into the details of what this title is. It's a random title. And category, we are here for education, so let's stick to that. I say continue. Okay, it says I have been blocked for some reason. The thing is, I happened to create this thing twice today. That is why probably they blocked me, as in for creating this page. Let's see if we can choose some other category and see whether they allow us to create a page here. Arts and entertainment, maybe now. Okay, they need other details as well, so let's skip. Let's try something else. Let's say it's a beauty salon. Again, they need in the details. If I put in education, that is when they don't ask anything else. Okay, education website, let's say continue, and let's hope that they let us create one. Okay, no, I have been blocked, so I doubt that I would be able to use this thing. Let me just quickly switch into some other account and see whether I can go ahead and try to do it with some other account. Let's try to create a page now. Let's hope that it lets us create a page here. I say create, and I say create a page. Let's call it, say, if it allows me, well and good. If not, then we'll have to switch to something else. Probably it is letting me create one, so that's a good sign. We can go ahead and use this thing. Skip, and I say skip. There you go, guys. We have a page here. Now, once we have this page, next what we have to do is we have to go ahead and take a look at certain other details that are needed. Like if I click on this about page, I would be having an ID here which I would be using. Now this is my page ID that I would be needing. Okay, so we have a sample page and we are going to use this to test our application. Apart from that, I would be going to this Facebook developers, where I would be going ahead and creating an application as well. Now I am basically signed in as Vishal here, so that is good. Let me just go ahead and create one more app. Let's call it, say, demo for today. There you go. And I say create. Am I a robot? No, I'm not. Submit. So guys, an application would be created here. Okay, so we would be using this application and we would be attaching a messenger to it, and we would be attaching the chatbot to this messenger. Let me just quickly go ahead and check one more thing, because I do not want any more problems in this session. So let's just quickly say Facebook Messenger. If I open the messenger, let me just see what is the messenger that I have by default here. So as you can see, I have this thing which I do not want. I would rather go out and log out from here. So guys, yeah, want to continue as 𝐵𝐵𝐴𝐿 Padgan? Yep. There you go. Now we should be good to go. So yep, we are here, and guys, by the time I believe our application is up and ready, pin it to the dashboard. Now guys, we have an application on Facebook, we have a page on Facebook, and we have our demo bot up and running, which we can use. So let's just open this thing and see what it has to offer to us. Now guys, these are the resources that we have at our disposal, and apart from that, we have quite a few other things that we can do. We can test our web chat here. We can take a look at the analytics that is there, and what are the different channels that we can use to use this chatbot. So we are going to take a look at all these one by one. But first and foremost, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and connect the knowledge base to my chatbot. How do we do that? We come here and we click on application settings. Once I open that, I would be entering the details that we have here, the connections or the endpoints. There you go. So I have to scroll down, and these are the 3 fields that I need to enter here. So I copy this first. That is, now this is my ID which I would be entering here. The first place where I enter this thing is this. Okay, I also need the host name, which in this case is this. Okay, and apart from that, we have this data. This is my authorization key. Okay, so let's just verify it. We have the knowledge base ID, which is correct. Host name is correct, and the authorization key is also there. So let's just save it. Yes, so it has successfully updated this thing. So I can just come here and I can say test it in chatbot. So if I just say hi, it should give me a reply. It's still sending the data. So okay, how can we help? So yes, it has been integrated or connected to my chatbot. Now next job is to connect this chatbot to my messenger app, right? So how do we do that? To do that, I would have to come here to channels, and I have some channels that are made available which I can connect to. First, I would just come down and select Facebook Messenger, the one which I want to connect to. And as you can see, this is the reason we created the app and all those things, because we need to fill in these details as well. For that, I would come here to my page and I would copy this page ID. Guys, there's too much to and fro of information here, so keep an eye on that, as in what I'm copying where. This is the page ID. As I move further, I have this application here. So in that, if I go to settings, I have the basic settings option. I need to copy this ID as well. Now this is my application ID, which I would be copying here. Control V. And guys, lastly, we need the secret key, which is here. I need to copy this as well, Control C, and I paste it here. Okay, so guys, we also need something called as page access token, but that is something that would be given to us once we move further. I'll tell you how to generate that as well, do not worry. Yeah, so guys, now we are at our application. One small change that we need to make here as well is we move to the advanced setting, and in that we say yes to this thing. At the bottom we have allow API access. I say yes, and I say save changes. There you go. Next, we move to the dashboard, and now we configure our messenger to with the chatbot. And how do we do that? We scroll down here on the dashboard and we select this option, setup. Okay, so there are certain things that I need to take care of. I need a page access token as well. If I come to app preview, guys, there are certain things that I would be needing to review, and before that I would be needing to enter in few details. We would be taking a look at those as well one by one, do not worry about it. Okay, so when you come here, first thing you do is again go back to settings, sorry, dashboard. Yeah, here. So what is the page that I want to refer? It is sample metal bending, if I'm not wrong. Yep. It would ask me for access. I would say yes, and I would say okay, give access. It would generate a token which I need to copy. Once it's copied, you would come back to the dashboard of your Microsoft Azure and you'd paste it here like this, and this thing is more than ready to go now. I come back here again. Okay guys, so I need an API through which I can actually communicate the messages, that is through and to and fro. So how do I do that? I have something called as webhooks. I won't get into the details of it, but it helps me in better communication rather. So I would be needing to enter in these details here. These are available here on my dashboard. If I scroll down, I need this thing one, copy. I paste it here. Copy. Again, I paste it here. And these are the subscription fields that I need to respond. So I say verify and save. There you go. Select a page here. Again, sample metal bending, subscribe. So my webhooks are done now. My next job is NLP. Sample metal bending. I say yes. And add all these to submission. There are certain details that you need to enter. One is as in what kind of communication would you like to have here. First select the page. I say if I say hi, give me a reply saying hello. Okay, and I just scroll down here and I say save. There you go. Next is this. For better rendering. Guys, do not worry about this thing. This is just a basic input. Okay. Why do I need to access apps local? Better communication. I say save. And lastly, I have this thing. Okay, for better time management maybe. Okay, I say save. There you go guys. So this has been saved, and almost everything is done, and I believe we are good to go. So this information has been entered in properly. Before I do that, I need to set this thing live. It would give me an error here, I'm sure. Okay, you must provide a valid policy or a URL policy in order to make your application live. How do we do that? It has to be there somewhere in the setting part. So there you go. Private URL policy, we enter it here. Let's use sample.tv maybe, and I say save the changes. Now can I set it live? Definitely I can set it live now. So I said set it live. It would say select a domain first. Which domain do you want to target? Say education, and I say confirm. There you go. So this is done. Let me just go back to app review. My app has been set live. Start a submission for approval. Yes, please select all these fields. And I say add 7 items. There you go. So this has been done, guys, and our app is good to go now. So I would just go ahead and save this thing. Okay, so if we just go back to the channels, we would see that our Facebook Messenger has been added. So if I do put forth a query, that would be replied into my Facebook Messenger, or my account would reply, that is my chatbot would reply using my account. So for that, okay, this refreshing takes a while at times. So we should see the Messenger app here. There you go. If I click on it, I get this at my disposal. And if I type hi this time around, I should get a reply. How can we help? Do you provide support? So there you guys, we've successfully gone ahead and we've actually integrated our so-called application with our application on Facebook. That means our chatbot is replying using our Facebook application. So that is a plus, and that is what I wanted you all guys to see. So what we've done is we've gone ahead and created a chatbot. We've created an application on Facebook, and we've combined these two so that if I can throw in queries onto my Facebook, or if somebody comes in and throws in a query, my chatbot would reply on that page as well. So we've successfully done that, and this was the aim of this session. As far as this session goes, guys, this is what I wanted to cover. I hope that you all had something nice and new to learn. As far as this session goes, I would be resting it here and here. Thank you. Bye-bye.